Hello, patrons, denizens, all things alike. Done some more reading of this eclipse here. And I found the section that I wanted to talk about again early on in the reading. And it had to do with this sense of control, which I think ultimately everything renders down to. The idea of whether or not life has any motives, all itself rendered to a place of control. But I think that ultimately the thing in which everybody resists whether or not what they say really has to do with the idea of control. And if they are getting what they want, after all, there is no way to rule out the fact that you exist. And at that moment, you can see how there are multiple initiatives behind all things. And somehow we're twisting, we're winding, trying to complicate or uncomplicate things. And there's a sense of, if there's no control, then you really have found something true. But again, like I said before, there is no way that you can eliminate you, which then can ruin everything, as you feel like you've finally actually had something. And I'm telling you now, I am grabbing a hold of the smallest strands here possible and weaving this line together here for you. Starting off with the rush and not giving up. Here's the new notebook or journal that I've started. Designed in Great Britain, manufactured in China. Anyways, here's the dragon that came on the front. And here's my beast of burden, which really shines. I mean, look at this thing. It's got like a beak, has some nice almond eyes, a wing, a headdress. Very mobile. Somehow elegant, while looking like it makes things suffer. And I just wrote here, make the difference. I started off by, just sort of throwing my name down, and then I worked from there. Came up with that, but really the ultimate reason why I wanted to open this up was because I feel like it really dawns on what I was opening my vlog up here with. And it goes like this: the action of this form of thinking like a winding and weaving strand, trying to ever tighten on a thing while simultaneously lengthening and creating more points of this action, all working towards a real point, but relying on the word to keep it invisible. Like words themselves are nothing. Words themselves are like that idea of you. But there's no way you can get through life without speaking. It's like working is actually the word. The more we speak, the more we're heard, the more that we have to do, the more that seems to be undone in gradering our sense of life being just for fun. And then I sort of got into a flow state and made some chainmail there. But there's that. And let me find now the section which inspired this thought. So maybe the reason that you're saying things isn't necessarily because that's what you believe. But maybe it's because you actually believe that something is true. So you want to say nothing. Why would you have to say something about something that is true? You see? Now let me find this. Section that I speak of. It's in here somewhere. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere near the beginning. Somewhere that I'm forgetting. But today, for me, has been full of moments where I've just kept pushing. And I'm going to push my luck a little bit here. Because instead of things breaking today, they've seemingly all come together. And this thought that exists, almost like I've taken it from these pages. Now I'm remembering more and more and more. And maybe it was much simpler than I thought, just like when I remembered what to say in the beginning without any words. There are storms that let go when the pressure becomes too much, and no one looks at the sky and asks it why. Let your feelings be honest. And then if I'm asking my feelings about what they're feeling and where I stop, this is where I stopped. Holding hands. And I want to kind of apply the same reasoning that I have sort of this feeling that that's just not me. Holding hands. But can I apply that same thought as to where I spoke about things being out of control? Maybe I'd be more welcoming to everything being out of control. if it somehow didn't have to all point back to me? Because if I'm being honest, it seems like we always end up alone. But let me tell you something. This is very peaceful here. Sitting by this stream all alone. And you know what? I felt grand writing in my journal, coming up with these novel ideas. Do you want to hear how twisting and winding my mind really is? I really want to test myself in this book. What I mean by that is that I want to enjoy this process. I am not sure why testing myself seems to be the right prompting for this order. I am sure I could speculate, maybe where I would be most genuine, the made-up portions of myself, like a test, would feel they were far from made up, like I knew who I was. So if I look at it like that, then look at it from the end of the test already as one more gap of reasoning for self-prophecy, who would I be that would enjoy this dragon-bound, lined and dated book? Should I write as I am enjoying reading it? A novel idea in its own moment. The other idea pressing on me after doing my reading is the idea of what life promises. I am in the wooded reservation in the city canyon and am reading and commenting on the book Eclipse by Wilder. There was a section about breaking like a storm, yet people do not blame the weather for being the weather. Instead of full-heartedly agreeing with the author, I was thinking of a thought I had a while back where everything in life is justified not by making everything meaningless, which I wanted to say, but couldn't. I said life is unpredictable, which I feel like gave me enough originality, novelty of thought while being something agreeable. I was then going to relate that to the passage I had read that was giving people freedom. Do I like my choice more because it seems more just, more free, more true, more me? Maybe people accept anything that happens as coming from life. But as the thing and experience trying to justify its life, is it a matter of moral, which prompts an unpredictable nature versus a conscious one, which begs the question as to life's leaning on the matter of, is there always a right or a wrong? At what point is the question trivial, which points to the perception of the Almighty? Is this again all a matter influenced by our intentions? The action of this form of thinking, like a winding and weaving strand, trying to ever tighten on a thing while simultaneously lengthening and creating more points of this action, all working towards a real point, but relying on the word to keep it invisible. Did I accomplish that?